Hello everyone. I recently finished this book. It's one of those books that you really want to read if you're interested in people with issues. And when I say issues, I mean, in this case, I mean physical issues. He's a young man. I've forgotten how old he is. 40, I think. He's actually a friend of mine. He friended me on Facebook about the time I was finishing uni. And he was going to uni at the time in his wheelchair with his support worker. And it was the same uni, so he must have seen me somewhere and just decided to friend me. You have no idea why. And he rambles a lot about his disabilities and how hard life is and how he's trying to do stuff and get through issues. And that was just on Facebook. And then someone reached out to him and said, I will publish your book. So he read the book and I bought it. And it's pretty amazing. So what he is, he's a quadriplegic. So you'll see he's got a breathing tube. He can't breathe on his own. He needs a machine to breathe for him. So he's one person who is incredibly grateful for medical science, because without medical science he would have died years ago. So he went overseas, got some sort of virus, and when he came back he was starting to lose mobility. First of all, it was just a little bit legs, arms a little bit challenging, and eventually it got worse and worse and worse. It gradually got worse and worse and worse, and eventually he's ended up stuck in the bed. It takes, I'm not certain how many support workers it takes to get him out of bed, but he's got 24/7 support care. So how he's managed to move out of his share care home into a flat where he is cared for 24/7 by these amazing support workers just astounds me. And he can't talk. Well, he can talk a few hours a day. So he's got a balloon down his throat to make it possible for him to breathe properly. And I've actually forgotten exactly. Did I take a note? I took very few notes. No, I did not write it down, so I don't know where the description is. He's got a balloon in his throat, and has that deflated for 5 hours in a day. And it's not so he can breathe. I've forgotten exactly. But 5 hours a day he can get a few words out. Other than that, everything is by guesswork and knowing his routine. So if he moves his head, so I think he's got a little bit of movement of his head and his eyelids, so he can flutter his eyelids and not much else. So he moves and knocks a thing when he's in bed, and he needs to go to the toilet and he needs to be turned over. And so the support worker will come in and will ask questions, directed questions, saying, do you want this, do you want that? And he'll say yes or no, I think with his eyelids. And they'll do everything for him. They have to rotate him in the bed to make certain that he doesn't get bed sores and all sorts of things. It's quite detailed. So we get all this detail as to his life, and how when we went into lockdown, because he's in Melbourne, and when we went into lockdown, he was locked even further. He was not able to get out of his room. So when everyone else, they were allowed to walk around their house and out into the garden, whatever, he wasn't able to even do that. He wasn't even able to be put in a wheelchair and wheeled into another room because someone had COVID. Or he was a little bit sniffly or whatever. Or one of the staff had COVID, and so everyone was in lockdown just in their room. Now, he's quite bright, and how he was doing all this writing and long rambling entries on Facebook. He uses, don't know the details, but I think he might be typing by using his eyes on the, looking at certain parts of the screen. I don't know. It's just technical know-how has made it possible for him to be able to type. So he can type out instructions to the staff, or he can type out a letter, or at one stage he says that he can only do 500 words, and that's when he loses, I should have written more of this down, that's when he loses the energy to do the work, because it's a lot more work for him to type out 500 words than for me. I mean, I can just bash them out with my fingers and barely, I'm not thinking about the process of typing. He has to think about the process of typing, and he's got to think about the words, and he's got to think about the word flow and everything. And there's a lot more work involved. So for him to type 500 words is huge, and he was trying to write 500 words in a day, and for him it was therapy as well. But it's still, it's like, that's much harder to write 500 words like that. Now, I have met Mark. I'm just going to have a go at pronouncing his surname. Mark Miljons-Rostoks. I don't know if I'm right. I think he's got, was it Lithuanian or Latvian background? It's either Lithuanian or Latvia. I think it's Lithuanian. Not sure. Maybe he'll see this video and tell me where I'm wrong. And if he does, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, and I've forgotten where I was going with this. So it's really quite interesting to read this and to see his journey. At the end of the book, he's actually quite a bit more balanced, because he's worked through some things with his therapist, and he's worked through some issues with the book, with the writing, and you can see that he's feeling a lot better within himself, and especially as he managed to get out of his share care home and somewhere else where all he has to do to get outside is talk to his support workers and say, I fancy going to the market today. Not that he can actually eat the food. He's fed with a tube, and I'm not certain where the tube is, whether it goes into his side and directly in, I don't know. And I read another book some years back where the lady was fed through a tube, and what used to happen is her support worker, this was America, not Australia, her support worker would make the dish and then blend it up and put it through the tube. And the lady taught them how to cook. So I've no idea, that we didn't go through this in this book. There was all the other mechanics of how he's got to sleep, and how they check on him frequently to make certain that he is still alive, which is nice. I often ask my doctor if I'm still alive, because I have no qualifications in that regard, so I have to make certain and actually ask this question. One time my doctor actually did check my pulse for me, Anyway, I can see it might be quite a bit irritating if you're woken up during the night just to check if you're alive. Especially if your sleep is interesting in the beginning. So, if you're interested in human condition, human adversity, or rising to adversity in the human condition, this is a really good book. It's well written. Yes, there's the odd typo, but I put it down to the fact that he is not me. And he's not typing with his fingers. And he's typing, I think he said with his eyes. It is mentioned in here. And I'd only made 4 notes here. And Latvia. It's mentioned on page 34. Latvian heritage from both mum and dad's side. Okay. So he did a DNA test a few years ago for health reasons, and it says he's 93% Latvian. Okay, so if you've seen this, Mark, and you've already made a comment to say it's Latvian, not Lithuanian, I wrote a note. There you go, I wrote a note. I actually wrote 4 notes. No idea. I'm not going to look up the rest of them. That was the only one I felt that was important at this point. I really did find this a fascinating book. It made me so much aware of how healthy I am, even though I'm on multiple medications. There are people who are many worse, much worse. I am quite healthy in comparison. And he had everything to look forward to. And now there are things he can do. Like, he can write this. I'm sure he can think of other topics to write about. They don't all have to be about him. And I suspect he would do a better job of the research if he decided to write a historical book. Better than me, I mean. I get distracted very easily. I don't think I'm ADHD, but there's always that possibility. Oh, squirrel. No, there isn't actually a squirrel in here. But there are times while I've been talking, I've been looking over there to the left of my camera and noticing a business card. A business card which I would have picked up in Book Fair Australia, at Book Fair Australia in 2003. To do with the author of these books. I must actually read his books. I'll get round to them eventually. I just bear in mind about 5 years ago, 8 years ago, I don't remember when it was, I picked up a book that had been on my to-be-read pile since 1980, and I regret keeping it all that time. I didn't finish it. So to only have a book that's been on my to-be-read pile for 3 years, that's pretty good. I'm quite comfortable with that now. And I'm really scared of an empty to-be-read pile. So I do wonder how many books I will buy when I'm at the Discworld convention in April. It will be interesting. Okay, enough rabbiting on. It's a really good book, good writing. I look forward to more by him. Whether historical, science fiction, fantasy, medical fiction, I don't care. I will just buy them. Thank you very much. See you on the flip side. Bye.